Hi and welcome everyone on this new webinar on QuickHelp. So we'll see today how we can simplify learning for all Office 365 users and what are the benefits and the impacts those solutions will be on your day-to-day business. I'm Cyril Courrée, Product Manager at SherWeb, and today I have with me Todd Marinos, Success Manager at Brainstorm. He really handled hundreds of onboarding for customers just like you. Be sure to get the best of the solution on their organization. Before to go through the agenda, few housekeeping items. This webinar is being recorded. We'll send you the link in a couple of days. You can ask questions directly in the platform. So there is a question function. So please shoot as many questions as you have. We're going to take the time to answer all of them. Also, you can already download the presentation slides under the handout functionality. So that being said, let's go through the agenda. So we'll speak about the continual learning of Office 365. This is something that most of the customers don't realize. So we're going to take a bit of time to understand what it means continual and why it is important for you to equip your employees and user with that. We'll go through an introduction of QuickHelp, what are the benefits, what is there for you, and we go, of course, through a demonstration of the tools so you can really get a feel of what you're going to jump in. Then we go through the pricing, and we'll take the time, of course, to go through your question and answer them. So that being said, I give the mic to Todd to lead us through this journey. Thank you, Todd.
Thank you, Cyril. I guess first of all, just want to make sure that that you can hear me. Cyril, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So excited to be here and excited to be, certainly partners with, with SherWeb. Certainly, thank you for inviting me to this call, and I appreciate everyone for being on the call and joining us today. I wanted to start off just by taking 30 seconds to tell you a little bit about Brainstorm. We're a company that started in 1995, so we've been around for about 23 years. We are an end user training organization. We don't really do admin training or technical training. Our sole purpose for existing has been to help users change the way they work and to help office workers by showing them how to be more productive with the technologies they're using and how to better adopt those technologies. So most of what we do surrounds Microsoft technologies like Office 365 and all of the workloads under the Office 365 umbrella. So as Cyril mentioned, the need for continual training around Office 365, and today with almost any Office 365 deployment, it really needs to go hand in hand with some kind of a change management or learning program. So why is this important? Why do we do this? Why this focus on helping users understand Office 365 and its accompanying technologies? Most organizations want their end users to know more about the technology they're using, but it's even more than that. So technology is changing at such a rapid pace, and it doesn't appear to be slowing down anytime soon. The gap between what users know about their technology and the rate at which technology is only getting larger. That skills gap between users and technology has never wider. We show that the average user really only knows about 15% of an application's capabilities. It's a lot of underutilized technology and software. When you purchase licensing, you're purchasing 100% of the software, certainly not just 15%. The other thing that we're seeing is that users are using technology today the same way they were using it 5 to 10 years ago. So if a user wanted to communicate with someone, or today wants to communicate with someone on their team, they're going to send them an email. If they want to communicate with someone in another department, they send an email. If they want to communicate with someone outside the organization, they send an email. If they want to send a document, they send an attachment. So today there are more effective ways to certainly use technology and save time and collaborate, but users just don't know what they don't know. Again, the technology is changing so quickly, it's so vast, there's so many different workloads and applications, it's really hard for organizations and users to keep up. Why would they use one application over another? So also organizations are experiencing what is called shadow IT, or what I like to call duplicate application syndrome. For example, one department thinks they need a specific application to help them do their jobs, so they buy a particular application or workload, not realizing that a similar application and functionality is available maybe in their Office 365 suite. One company we're working with recently, they will save thousands in licensing when they realize they had half a dozen duplicate applications like, WebEx and GoToMeeting, TeamViewer, Slack, LoopUp, Dropbox, Google Drive. All of these have comparable applications within the Office 365 suite, and they were able to discover this through training and learning more about the licensing they had. It's also difficult for departments and teams to collaborate with one another if they're using all of these different tool sets, and duplicate applications that maybe don't talk well to each other. So unused Microsoft technology, duplicate applications, there is a cost to this. We call it the high cost to low technology adoption. So, how do we attack this problem? Well, we do it through a learning platform called QuickHelp. So QuickHelp is an online learning platform that essentially the unengaged learner. The biggest organizational challenge to change is what we call unmotivated user population. Users don't love change. I'm a user. We're not lazy. We just don't like change. Change is hard and difficult, and most users in an organization are resistant to change. But that's also the largest audience, and where we can affect the greatest change. Is that unmotivated user population. There's always those users that want to be on the cutting edge, those 5 to 10%, they're going to be proactive and are excited about change, but most of us aren't. And that's where we can affect the greatest change. So that's why we built this platform, this QuickHelp platform. We had to change the way that we approached the unmotivated and that unengaged user. So we do this by personalizing the training to the organization and to the user, to their specific role. So we needed a platform that would also scale with those rapid changes in technology. So instructor-led training is great, but it's also very expensive and it doesn't scale very well. As soon as you get, through everyone in the organization, something tends to change and you need to do it all over again. And remember, technology is changing at such an unprecedented pace. So let's talk about the QuickHelp platform a little bit, and we'll get into it and actually show you what it looks like here in just a second, but wanted to give you some context around it. So it is a platform made up of content and what we call assets. So it's made up of thousands of assets, and most of these are short, bite-sized video assets, anywhere from 1 to 3 minutes in length. Each video is designed to teach on a very specific topic, but they're also PDF documents, poll questions, what we call challenge questions, graded assessments, and even live facilitated events in the form of webinars in the platform. And we'll get a chance to see most of these here in just a second. So I wanted to touch just quickly on these live webinars because they're pretty neat. I mean, the fact that this platform does offer these other asset types, but also offers live webinar training is pretty phenomenal. So we offer dozens of these live 30-minute webinars each month that users can register for and participate in through the QuickHelp platform. And users can also chat with a live facilitator and have their questions answered in real time. So all of this content, all of these asset types are organized into courses and skill paths that can be easily consumed by users. So there's content for literally, I believe, every Microsoft productivity application under the O365 umbrella. So, your Skype for Business, Teams, OneDrive, SharePoint, Delve, Sway, your traditional Office apps, Outlook, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, etc. And there are thousands of these assets that we've created and developed, again, to help users really understand and adopt these technologies. So as you can imagine, it's a very large task keeping this content up to date. So about half of our staff is dedicated to content development. It is a huge undertaking to ensure this content is up to date and relevant, and any new content is there for those early adopters, and also as new technologies are released. So we update or release new content twice a month. So twice a month, you know, we're either adding updated content. I think we're on our third iteration of Skype and OneDrive, or if there's new technologies that have come out, we're making sure we have content again as that new technology is released to support those early adopters. So it's not just the library of assets that we point users to. I mean, it's real easy to create an online portal and direct users to it and say, here you go, go consume training. Again, most users aren't going to be proactive in doing that. So the platform is actually designed to engage with the user. So from the first welcome email to weekly assignment reminders to suggested content based on their role, we don't wait for the user to engage. QuickHelp will engage with the user. And again, trying to do the best it can to try to personalize that content so that it's relevant for that specific user. That's how we get users into the platform. So organizations can assign content based on a common objective or goal. So content can be assigned to specific groups or teams, or obviously to everyone in the organization. Reporting and tracking are available to see if users are consuming the content. Are they completing their training? Most importantly, is it driving change? That's the ultimate goal. Is it ultimately driving change in an organization? So we can see QuickHelp usage, but we also have the ability to also see your O365 usage and draw that correlation. Lo and behold, users are watching Teams content, and now we're seeing a 20 to 30% increase in adoption in Teams in your O365 reporting. So that's ultimately the main goal, right? Is it actually moving the needle in your organization, or are users utilizing those tools? The goal isn't necessarily to get the users to watch training, but usage, is a byproduct of that training. So, obviously, getting users into the platform is kind of a sub goal, to the main goal, which is to drive change. So, one of the things we also try to do to drive change to users in the platform is gamification. So users can earn points and badges along the way, and we'll take a look at that as well. All right, so let's dive in. Let's go ahead and get in and show you maybe what a typical user experience might be with QuickHelp, and we can walk through the platform a little bit and give you an idea of what that looks like. So I'm going to start off. So as I mentioned, the QuickHelp platform engages with users. So when a license is first issued, a welcome email will go out, or some kind of communication will go out to the user. So this is just a sample email that can come from the platform. Here's an email introducing QuickHelp to a specific user. And when they engage, or when they click on that link, it's going to do one of two things. One, depending on how the platform is set up, it can automatically log them in, or could take them to a login page, and there is a login and a password. If single sign-on is configured, then it could theoretically just take them right in, and they might automatically authenticate. So that's something that we certainly recommend is setting up single sign-on. All right, so when a user logs in, the very first thing they're going to see, at least the first time they log in, they'll only see this once, as a short 15-second intro video. This is just one of our trainers welcoming them to QuickHelp, giving them some context around what QuickHelp is and what they can expect to see. The next thing is we have, it logged me out there. Let me log back in real quick. All right, bear with me one sec. All right. The next thing, and again, they only have to do this once, is we walk them through what's called an intake survey. Again, personalization is the key. We want to find out a little bit more about the user. And so they have the ability to upload their photo, we want to know their department, their job title, Again, depending on how QuickHelp was configured, this information may have already been pulled in. One of the ways that we like to get users into the platform is through an app, an Office 365 app called Office Graph. So Office Graph creates a trust relationship between your O365 tenant and QuickHelp instance or the QuickHelp tenant, and it basically can mirror that licensing and pull in that user information. It can also automatically assign a license. So theoretically, you could enable Office Graph, have it assign a license, have it send a welcome email, and assign training automatically, to your users. But these things are key in terms of department and job title. So we have about 3.2 million users in QuickHelp across thousands of organizations. So we've been able to see how users are watching content. We're able to see how different departments and different roles, different job titles are viewing that content. So that helps us immensely in being able to suggest content to someone who's in a similar department or a similar role. Next thing we ask the user is we want to ask how familiar they are with certain applications. So, hey, have you ever used these applications, in the past? And so I can quickly go through and answer some of those questions. And this can be configured, to provide a list of any applications that make sense in this specific organization. Now, based on those applications that I said I use, it wants to know how frequently I use those, applications. So I can get in and answer that. Again, it wants to know a little bit more about my usage, my experience. So what's happening right now is two things are happening. One, it's taking not only the way I answered those questions, but also my organizational requirements. So when the platform was originally created for my organization, there are certain things that my organization wants me to know as a user, and so it's taking those organizational learning objectives. Let me make that a little bit bigger for you. And my role, so the way I answer those questions, it may reorder some of those organizational objectives, and it's saying we've identified some courses to teach you some new skills, and it's reminding me I can earn points and badges along the way, and so I can get started. And I'll click on that. You'll notice the very first thing it did, I'll pause that video for a second, as it says I've earned a badge. So right out the gate, I've earned a badge for completing my intake survey and starting to earn points. And it's going to drop me into my first skill path, in this case, Office 365 and an introduction to Office 365. I'm going to go to our home page real quick here, and I just want to show a couple of things, and then we'll dive into maybe one of the skill paths. So one thing you'll notice right away, sample logo. So this can be branded or co-branded, with your logo. So there's that functionality. So when users log in, they obviously see a familiar site or familiar logo. They know they're in the right spot. You can also see the company standings and where I stand in terms of the gamification and where I rank. So it's amazing how that gamification really drives individuals into the platform and the competition that can sometimes occur. I want to make sure I rank higher than the guy I'm sitting next to, so I'll go in and consume some additional content there. Oop, go back there. Okay. All right, so one of the things that you can do as an organization is that, as I mentioned before, you can assign content. And that assigned content is certainly the content that's going to be most important for me as a user. It's what my organization wants me to see. It's the content that's most applicable to me as a user and to my role. So that's why it's always going to be at the top of the page. It's always going to be flagged as assigned. So these are what are called skill paths. Now, a skill path is just basically a group of courses that are designed to teach a specific topic to better help me use that technology. So as you can see, assigned to me, I've got Office 365, Outlook 2016, Teams, and Skype for Business. I'm going to jump into this Office 365 course here, so we can see what the anatomy of that looks like, or this Office 365 skill path. So, sorry about that. I keep clicking on the wrong spot here. So you can see that there are 7 courses. Now, I've been assigned all these 7, but that's not we typically recommend that you maybe only assign maybe 1 or 2 initially. Again, in our experience, what we found is that if you assign 2 or fewer courses, there's an 86% completion rate on the courses. If you assign more, that completion rate goes down exponentially the greater you assign. Users just tend to get overwhelmed. Also, studies show that most users feel or they're only willing to dedicate about 5 to 10 minutes per day toward training. So I'm going to jump into this this very first course here, this Office 365 Essentials, and I'll go ahead and begin that. And so right away, and let me mute this here. We'll just let Shaylee talk there. So every course typically starts out with what we call a talking head. So this is about 20 to 30 seconds of an instructor or an individual just kind of giving me some context around what I'm going to learn in this course and what I can expect. I'll pause that there for a second because I want to also show you some of the resources that are available. So also you'll notice there's a PDF document that's attached to this video. So this one happens to be a use case for working remotely, and I can click on that. So again, especially if I'm someone that prefers print, maybe over video, I can read some additional topics on how Office 365 can help me, in a remote world. So we'll continue on to with our course here and go next. And all right, so the very next asset, it's asking me to register for one of our upcoming live events. So again, based on this course that I'm in, it knows that we're in Office 365 and an Office 365 Essential. So we happen to have a Learn the Basics of Office 365 event that's coming up. And I can see all of the different times and dates that are available. I can select the one that seems to work for me, and I can register for that event. It'll send me an email that I can drop into my calendar when that event occurs. I can click on the link in my event. It'll take me right back into QuickHelp, and I can watch that 25, 30-minute live facilitated event, get my questions answered, and have that experience. So once I've registered, now it wants to find out my comfort level with Office 365. Hey, what is your experience with Office 365? Have you had any at all? What's your confidence level? Well, I'm pretty new, so I have a low confidence level. How comfortable do you feel about saving files in the cloud? Well, maybe I haven't done that very often. In an average week, how many messages do you send with attachments? So I can answer that question. Which of the following features have you used? So what we're basically doing here is we're trying to gauge, where the user is prior to training. Now, what will happen is at the end of the skill path, they're going to get another similar set of questions that will again ask kind of their feelings. And the idea is we hope that their comfort level has gone out, and we can provide reporting on certainly what that looks like and show you how users are accepting the training and their comfort level, with their new workloads. So we'll continue on. Now I'm going to dive into some additional training. So here's a video on an Office 365 overview. I've earned another badge, for getting this far. Moving on. So now again, the whole point is that I need to do something. So the point isn't just learning, the point is doing. So we have what are called challenge questions or challenge polls. So this next step is, hey, go ahead and log into your Office 365 portal page. And then it's going to say, hey, did you do it? Yes or no. Now that you're here, go ahead and bookmark this page. Did you do it? Look around your portal page. How could this portal help you? So we start to gauge some additional feedback. How do they feel they can use it, in their day-to-day? And so we provide that opportunity for a user to actually get in and start to challenge. So I have some additional training. Here's a short 1.5-minute video on downloading additional Office 365 applications, customizing my app launcher, editing your profile. And we're getting toward the end of this course here. So the very last thing I wanted to get to is what we call an assessment. So this is actually a few questions that we asked to reinforce learning. Hey, did you remember the things you learned? we're going to ask you some questions. So, you know, with any online application, which of the following icons would open the notifications pane? So I can go through and I can answer some of these questions to reinforce my learning. And I did poorly. I only got 33%, but you know, I can go back and I can retry, and it'll retry just those questions that I missed. Because again, the goal is that I learn it and understand it. So that's what a typical user experience, you know, might be within QuickHelp. I'm going to go back to our home page here. All right. Oops. Sorry, bear with me here again. All right. So a couple other things I wanted to show you. So you'll notice up at the top of the page, we have a persistent search bar. This is persistent throughout the entire platform. So no matter where I am, I'm going to have the ability to be able to search for content. So maybe I just have a quick question. You know, I'm new to Outlook or new to Office 365, or you know what, I'm going to go on vacation. It's summer. I can't remember how to set my out of office rule. So I can go in and type out of office, and it'll bring up content that's you know, that's relevant to you know, to my search. So very, you know, very easy to find content using the search, especially if I'm looking for something something very quick. So the other thing I wanted to show is kind of how the QuickHelp platform is laid out. So a lot of times we're called the Netflix of learning because you have the different categories and you have the different tiles. So we showed the assigned content. If I scroll down, I can also see upcoming events. So I did register for the one event within Office 365, but I want to you know what other events are available for me to register. So I can go down here and I can see, oh, we've got SharePoint, we've got OneNote, we've got Skype for Business. I can click on here and view all and go to the view all page, and I can see that we probably have you know, a dozen or more upcoming events that I can register for as a user. So as I start to get in and start to learn a few things and start to get more excited, I can start to be a little bit more proactive in my, you know, my own learning. As we continue down the page, I can see videos that others in my organization are watching, others that are popular within my organization. And I want to call your attention to one that's over here on the side. It's an HTML asset. So one of the things about QuickHelp, as I mentioned, there's you know, thousands of assets that are native to the application that or the platform that we've created and we've uploaded. You also have the ability to upload your own content. So you know, maybe you have a form that you want to send users out to, maybe a website or a department team site, or somewhere where they can create a support ticket, and you've uploaded a training video on how that is done, and then a link to a support ticket. Or maybe there's compliance training. So it is an open platform, and the sky's the limit in terms of the other content that you can use. So you can truly use this as a you know, its own learning management system, not necessarily just for Microsoft productivity, but certainly for other software or other needs that you have within your organization. So in this case, you know, here's a link, you know, that class registration. So I can click on that. It's actually going to take me out of the platform, and here's a Microsoft form that somebody created about maybe some live training, you know, some live instructor-led training that I can you know, go register for. All right, so continuing down the page here. So again, popular within my organization, other content that's aligned with my organization's deployment, productivity tips that I can go and see, and then groups. So I may be a part of groups. My organization may have assigned me to you know, to a specific group based on my role. And based on that role, I may be assigned different content than others in my organization. Or I may have the ability, if I'd like, if it's a user group, to join a group of my choice. So depending on how that group is set up, maybe there's someone in our organization who is just a OneNote master, and they've been asked to assign some content to that group, and I have the ability to go in and join that group. And when I join that group, I'm assigned some content on OneNote, and that OneNote master who's managing that group can periodically, update that that content. So some great flexibility there. All right. One other thing, last thing I want to show you, and then we'll move on here, is this little menu bar over on the side. So I can get to the home in a couple of different ways, either here or by clicking on the logo. I have the ability to see other skill paths. We talked about the different events. One of the things I wanted to mention is this what's new. So as I mentioned, we're continually updating the platform and continually changing and adding. So this what's new feature allows me to go and see, what has happened recently. So once a month, we'll send out a digest of anything new that has been added, whether it be a skill path that has been updated or changed or added, whether it's content that has been updated or added. Obviously with GDPR, that was a pretty big deal. So there was some information on GDPR that that came out. So this is a great place to go and see, what new has occurred with the QuickHelp platform. All right, so let me go back to my deck here. So I guess to kind of wrap up, certainly the goal of QuickHelp is to attack those challenges that we discussed initially. So, that unmotivated user, that high cost of low adoption, removing duplicate applications to save money and licensing that may not be certainly needed. And the ultimate goal is like I said, is to change the way users work. We're out to change behavior. We want to allow users to use the technology and maximize the technology that they have. We've again, being in business for 23 years, we've been able to extrapolate some data, in terms of what what the ROI and what the cost savings are, and having an educated workforce, and a workforce that's using their technology. So a new skill saves an employee 18 minutes per week. Being able to save help desk calls, which average about $25 per call. And then those live training events, users are telling us that they're saving about 1 hour per week by learning new skills from those live training events. So, certainly, hopefully, you can understand the the benefits of the QuickHelp platform, and certainly happy to answer any questions about it, either later on in this call or even after in a one-off. All right, so with that, I'm going to turn the reins back over to Cyril to discuss pricing. I'm sure that's probably a question on your mind.
Thank you very much, Todd. Very good to see the platform live. I think it's really showing the power. Did a good job of explaining the benefits, impact, and so on. So if we can go on the pricing, two ways to get it. You can take it standalone, and I mean by standalone, if you don't have Office 365 with SherWeb, it's going to be a $5 US per user per month, or $6 Canadian. Other option, if you have Office 365 with us, you can get it as an add-on or part of a bundle, and the cost is going to be $3 US per user per month, or $4 Canadian per user per month. There is no minimum of user, there is no commitment. We're trying to make it as simple as possible. The way we manage QuickHelp, so we created a standard configuration for our organization, and by default, we simplify as much setting as you can. So I mean, by default, you're going to get content published, skill paths, and different things that Todd showed earlier. So we are trying really to manage the solution for you and make it as easy as possible. So if we go now on the Q&A, so we got a couple of questions, Todd. I will let you answer some of them. We got a question about what will be the administration task really for the day-to-day, and maybe if we can go quickly about the basic steps that someone has to do to be up and running in QuickHelp?
Sure. So there really isn't much maintenance. As I mentioned, there is an engagement engine with the platform. So realistically, you can have as little or as much control as you'd like. When an account is created, SherWeb will certainly have admin rights and can certainly assist with that. Certainly in the training. If I believe you will also have admin rights to your own portal, so you'll have the ability, if you'd like, to go in and customize. That's one of the things we didn't get into much in the demo, is the customization side. So, maybe you don't want your users to see all those applications. Maybe you're not ready to deploy Teams or OneDrive. Maybe you're starting off with just a few workloads. Well, that content can be hidden in the platform until you're ready. So with just a couple of clicks, you can completely have the platform mapped to your environment. So in terms of what a user needs to understand, or how quickly a user can be spun up, it's as easy as again, syncing Office Graph and then assigning a license. One thing we do recommend is that some kind of internal email go out initially, and typically from someone in the management or executive within the organization, kind of introducing or announcing QuickHelp. We've seen issues if QuickHelp just introduces itself to the user. Users are a little bit more savvy and wary nowadays. They'll see an email that says from QuickHelp, they've never heard about it before. And so they might dismiss it or delete it or think it's spam. So, but if it's introduced internally, from an executive, letting users know, hey, we've got this platform, it's coming, you're going to see emails, we encourage you to engage with it, then we can really see some great adoption.
Okay, it's good. Maybe you can speak a bit more about the user management. For example, earlier you spoke about Office Graph and SSO. If you can go through, without going in the deep configuration, but what would be the benefits of adding Office Graph and SSO in the platform?
Sure. So let's start with single sign-on. So basically, we use single sign-on for just really authentication. So rather than users having to remember another email or password, as soon as they click on an email from QuickHelp, let's say, or maybe they've bookmarked QuickHelp and they access that. So rather than hitting the login page, it'll just automatically authenticate them into the platform. So it just uses their O365 login or their credentials to authenticate them into QuickHelp. So it's more of again, we want to throw down any barriers we can to get users into the platform, because it is web-based, and it does require authentication. We don't necessarily want them to get stuck behind a login or forgetting a password again. So that's why SSO. Office Graph has quite a few benefits for us. So as I mentioned, it brings in users automatically, but it does it dynamically as well. So it's always going to stay synced to your O365 tenant. So let's say in a couple of weeks you hire on 2 more individuals and they receive O365 licenses. Well, QuickHelp will recognize that. And depending on how it's configured, you can have QuickHelp automatically issue QuickHelp licenses for those 2 individuals, automatically assign content. So maybe you drop them into a new onboarding group where they have specific content for them as new employees, and they'll automatically receive an email from QuickHelp saying, hey, you've got a QuickHelp license, here's your assigned content, click here to get started. So it makes it very easy to manage users as maybe new users are coming in or being onboarded. Now on the other side, maybe you lose a couple of employees. You deactivate their O365 tenant or their account. Well, again, QuickHelp recognize that, it removes their Office 365 license. So you're obviously no longer being charged for those licenses. So user management is very easy with Office Graph. The other thing Graph allows us to do is I mentioned briefly in the demonstration about reporting and tracking. So we can certainly view how users are utilizing QuickHelp, and there's a dashboard and an admin portal, for that. You can certainly have access to that to see if, QuickHelp and how QuickHelp is being used in your organization. The thing we've been able to also see just recently is, as I mentioned, your actual Office 365 usage. And Office Graph allows us to see that. So if that's authorized, then Office Graph will allow us to see your Office 365 usage. So we can set a benchmark, before training, or show you, hey, this was your usage of, SharePoint or Teams or Skype for Business or OneDrive prior to deploying QuickHelp. And we've launched a few, campaigns and assigned some training around those applications. Lo and behold, in a month, look at how it's driven usage of these applications. So we can better show you, the usage and how it's really had a return on investment in your organization.
Okay, that's good. Thank you very much, Todd. We got other question, but that we answered during the session, so I think we're good. So really, in terms of your call to action, next step, it's really go to our website. There is an intro video that gives another very good example of why learning, showing really you don't know what you don't know, and really you understand the continual learning. So really download the documentation. Contact us if you have any question, and start equip your user with QuickHelp. And SherWeb is really here to help you through the onboarding. We are here to help you on the day-to-day if you have any question. So really don't hesitate. Todd, thanks again for coming here, presenting the solution. And I would like to thank everyone for joining us today.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Thank you very much.